The Holy Gospel according to Luke, the 21st chapter. When some were speaking about the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts dedicated to God, Jesus said, "As for these things that you see, the days will come when not one stone will be left upon another. All will be thrown down." They asked him, "Teacher, when will this be? And what will be the sign that this is about to take place?" And he said, "Well, beware that you are not led astray, for many will come in my name and say, 'I am he,' and the time is near. Do not go after them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for these things must take place first, but the end will not follow immediately." Then he said to them, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and plagues, and there will be dreadful portents and great signs from heaven. But before all this occurs, they will arrest you and persecute you. They will hand you over to synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors because of my name. This will give you an opportunity to testify, so make up your minds not to prepare your defense in advance. For I will give you words and a wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to withstand or contradict. You will be betrayed even by parents and brothers, by relatives and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair of your head shall perish. By your endurance you will gain your souls." The Gospel of the Lord. The first thing that I want to say to you this morning is thank you. I am Tammy Dahlvang. I'm the pastor at Crossroads Campus Ministry, the ELCA Campus Ministry at MSU in Mankato. And your congregation has been an unbelievable blessing for Crossroads for at least two reasons. First of all, there's one sitting in the front pew right here. Pastor Don was on our board for over a year, and he provided wonderful guidance and leadership. After he resigned, we really missed him. So if you ever want to come back, feel free. Nancy Altman also is on our board, and she helps a lot with various different things. And thank you too for your financial support, and thanks for letting me come today. I don't know how many of you know much about campus ministry. Can you raise your hand if you went to a church school? I knew it. Probably about half of you. Raise your hand if you went to a public school. Okay. Keep your hand up if you were involved in the campus ministry at the public school. About half of those who went to a public school were involved in a campus ministry there. That's great. It's changed a lot since it was in those days. Back when, I don't know how old all of you are, but it's changed a lot since I've been a campus pastor for 3 years, and most of you are probably longer than that out of school. One of the things we've needed to do at Crossroads to respond to those changes is to come up with a strategic plan. And we have a strategic plan, and now we're trying to figure out what it means to live into the strategic plan. I don't know if you've experienced that in your congregation before, but you get this 40-page document, and then you have to figure out what to do with it. And so we're meeting with someone who's going to help us with this. His name is Vern Christofferson, and I met with him at a meeting that we had in our synod for pastors, and he looked me in the eye and he said, "Tell me why you do what you do." And I told him, well, students come to college, and many of them leave their communities, and they become disconnected from their communities, they become disconnected from their congregations, they can become disconnected from God. And so I said, our tagline is Crossroads, connecting you to God, yourself, and others. And he looked at me and he kind of shook his head and he said, "That's not compelling." I said, "Shoot." He said, "Try again." And I told him, well, okay, along the theme of connection, when I was in college, I wasn't living a Christian life at all until I became involved in campus ministry and experienced the community there. And I said that community connected me to God, to myself, and others in a way that was incredible, and I want to replicate that at MSU. And he said, nope, it's not compelling. He said, come talk to me in January when we meet, and I want you to come up with something compelling. Why are you there? Why? So I've been wrestling with that a lot, and I've also been wrestling with this notion of compelling. Has anyone ever told anyone in here that you have to come up with a compelling reason for something? Is it easy to do? Sometimes with my kids, I feel like it's pretty easy. They have a compelling reason to clean their room or mom's going to get mad at them. It's very compelling. I was watching the movie 42. Has anyone seen that movie? Okay, it's about Jackie Robinson, and it's about the integration, the racial integration of professional baseball. And for those of you who might not know, Jackie Robinson was the first African-American baseball player. And it's really mysterious at first why the owner of the Dodgers is bringing an African-American player onto his team. The reason being he's getting hate mail. People are threatening to kill him. People are threatening to kill Jackie Robinson and his family. It's a very dangerous thing to do. And you sort of catch a glimpse of it at the beginning of the movie when he's trying to pick which African-American player he's going to bring up. And he said, I like Jackie Robinson. He said, he's a Methodist. I'm a Methodist. God's a Methodist. We'll go with Jackie Robinson. Like I said earlier, I'm just glad that God is one of our full communion partners. A little bit later in the movie, he's talking to the manager of the Phillies, and the manager of the Phillies tells him, don't even bother coming down to Philadelphia. We're just not ready for that yet. We're not ready for you to bring that boy with you. And the owner of the Dodgers says, you know, do you think God likes baseball? And the owner of the Phillies said, what the blank kind of a question is that? It's not what we're talking about. And the owner of the Dodgers says, you know, one of these days, when you die, you're going to meet God. And when you do, if he asks you why the Phillies did not play the Dodgers, and you tell him that it was because there was a Negro on the Dodgers, that might not be a sufficient reason, and he slams down the phone. Evidently it was compelling because they played each other. Compelling. The notion that God is here, God is doing something, and that we can be part of it is compelling to us. We see it in the readings. There's a reading from Malachi where the prophet is trying to compel the people who are about to experience some very, very difficult times, compel them to have hope. For you who revere my name, the Son of Righteousness shall rise with healing in its wings. And Jesus is also trying to compel people to have hope when he talks about the end of the world, when he talks about the things that are to come. Hope can be very compelling. And hope is what I have found in ministry to young adults. There is so much hope in what is to come. These people are wonderful people who want to follow Christ's call to live faithfully in this world. I want to invite Connor and Chris to come up, and I'd like to invite you to say exactly what you did at 8:15, because it was really good. Okay.
Hi, my name is Chris Myers. I am a microbiology graduate student at MSU Mankato. I got involved in campus ministry basically because I got sucked into it. I I was kind of, I don't know, I grew up in a Lutheran tradition, ELCA, and I was looking at the different churches in town, sampled them, and I figured I'd sample the campus ministry. I wasn't quite sure how I felt about it, because, I don't know, in reality, I'm a lot older than most of the people there. But one day, I went one Wednesday night, and basically got talked to by, people came out of the woodwork and started talking to me. Now, this was in the spring of 2012. I hadn't really, in the fall of 2011 is when I started, and I got into it. I wasn't really fully engaged in Mankato. I grew up in Mankato, but coming back to it, a lot of the people I knew had gone, and so I was coming into college life much like college freshman is. You don't really necessarily know anybody, and you don't really know where to start. And for me, I just, I'd already done the college things at Concordia and Moorhead, and so I was just, kind of not super engaged in any community, anything. But then Crossroads brought me into the fold. I had been going to church and things like that, so I had some spiritual fulfillment in the community, but what I didn't have was a community of people. I had engagement with my spirituality, but I didn't have a fellowship aspect to my life. Crossroads really did that for me. Not only did I get involved at Crossroads doing things, I play in the worship band, I play bass, but then somebody I knew got me involved in the orchestra at MSU, which I hadn't done previously, and I enjoy playing in an orchestra. These things wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been sought by a campus community of Christians. I think Crossroads is a great place because it provides a community for, people, freshmen, graduate students, and everywhere in between. You get to know people and know God and share that with one another. We'll let Connor go next.
So hi, how are you guys doing today? Doing all right? You guys still waking up? I mean, I still am, and I was at the 8:30 service, so, okay. So I am supposed to tell you what campus ministry has done for me. How many of you went to college? I did, yep, I did. How many of you would go back if you could? I would, it's pretty cool, pretty good time, So I'm from the Midwest, a lot like you guys, except I grew up in Wisconsin. I know that makes me a Packer fan. Go ahead and shun me if you want to. But I grew up in Wisconsin, Menominee, Wisconsin to be exact, where UW Stout is, the UW system around there. The college was great. I did some studying at Stout while I was there, but I went to high school in Menominee, and the high school wasn't all that great. People weren't that great. It wasn't really a safe environment. People would do drugs behind the school, things like that. It just wasn't a good place. So naturally, I would, back in high school, I was kind of a troublemaker. I didn't really have a purpose in life. I was interested in doing other things than school. So I maybe went, let's say, out of 180 days, my senior year, I went about 80 days. So it suffice to say, I wasn't a very good student. I wasn't a very good person. A lot of this really changed when one day when I skipped school, I was at Dairy Queen just getting a blizzard with my friend, and in those days, how would you convince me to do anything? Yo, dude, Connor, there's a party at this place tonight. You should totally come. So obviously, of course, no better to do that night. Of course, I go to this party. I think it's going to be a cool place. Well, here I am, hours later that night, around 8 o'clock. I'm at this party, so to say, and I'm around talking to other girls, really nice people. Not really as rowdy as I expected it or anything, but just people talking like, whenever I'm about to leave. But then I turn around, before I leave, I turn around and I see this big fake dead guy hung up on a cross, like in the middle of the room. And I'm like, oh, God. The guy who invited me, his name was Matt. I was going to go find him and yell at him for tricking me to coming to a religious function, because I really didn't want to, those days it wasn't really in my head to go to a religious function at all. But one of the things that happened, which made me continue to go to campus ministry, that's where I was at, was a campus ministry at the UW Stout, LCM. And I met the pastor right before I was about to leave. And he actually convinced me to stay. He said, right before I left, he was like, Connor, I've heard good things about you. I want you to know that you're welcome here anytime. And that actually kind of changed my life for the better. It was actually a sense of community. Everyone I talked to there was really nice, and they accepted me for who I was. I knew I could come to the Lutheran Center at UW Stout whenever I wanted to. It was just, they didn't judge me at all, no matter what. In high school, you were always taught to get your own cliques, and if they didn't fit around what you liked, you were supposed to shun them. You didn't leave them. At LCM, it wasn't like that. It was just a community of people who loved each other, and that's something I yearned for, something I missed. And I'm really glad I got involved in it. And now I'm more involved than ever trying to get accepting people, loving people like they had first treated me. And I think that campus ministry has changed me for the better. And for that reason, I want to be able to give that feeling that I've had to other people as well. Thank you for your time.
And I just want to say thank you again for all that you are doing to support ministries like ours, and for all that you're doing to support all of the things that God is doing in the world.